Hey everyone, it's Neil Patel, and today I'm going to share with you a simple hack to generating 93% more ad revenue. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this channel, and if you're on YouTube, click the alert notification. Now this hack works extremely well. I've tested it on a lot of websites. Some websites I'm seeing even a bigger increase from this hack. Some websites I'm seeing a little bit less. But when you average it out, the industry is getting roughly 93% more ad revenue from this hack, and I bet you're not using it at all. So how do you make money from your publishing website right now? Well, you probably make money through AdSense. And if you know me, I'm not a huge fan of AdSense, but if you run AdSense along with other display ads, it actually is a very good strategy as long as you're using the right optimization and testing. And I used to do everything manual, and it was a ton of work, and I'll show you the process that I used to go through. And then eventually I ended up learning about this tool, which is now my secret weapon for any new publishing website that we acquire, and then we end up throwing it on there, and it ends up helping us generate more revenue. So there's roughly 10 million websites that are using AdSense. That's a lot of websites. Just think about it, 10 million, right? That's a big chunk of the web. Yes, I know there's billions of websites, but majority of them literally get little to no traffic. Now, the people that are using AdSense, in most cases, they're getting enough traffic to monetize. But if you want to do really well with AdSense or any ad format out there, it takes a lot of testing. And when you optimize your ads to really maximize them, I was working with a guy named Ahmed. We had a website for a while called Real Cool Videos. And with Real Cool Videos, literally the amount of time we spent testing on display ads in AdSense, it wasn't a month or two. It took us like 6 to 9 months to really get it down, and even a year to fully perfect it. And that was because we were doing a lot of things manually, but luckily nowadays there are some tools and some processes that make things much more quicker and efficient. Because there's a lot of things to test. Everything from ad placement. Where should your ad go on the page? Should it be on the top right corner, in the content, sidebar? Should you have multiple ad spots? What sizes should you use? Should they be big, small? Where should you buy your traffic from? Or should you do tons of SEO? Is it converting into a lot of ad clicks? What's the color of that? Should you make it blend in, or should you make it stand out? Which ad networks will pay you less or more? How do you leverage targeting and show different people different ad types? What about density? Should you have 5 ad spots above the fold, 2, 1? Because if you really screw up the experience, it could also hurt your SEO as well, right? All these things are very, very important. And as a publisher, this is why you have to perfect everything when it comes to your ads, because if you don't, advertisers aren't going to keep bidding more money for ads on your site. And if they don't, then you're not going to make that much cash. And this is what's funny. See, with advertising, we manage a lot of ads at my agency, Neil Patel Digital. Companies, no matter what ad system that they're using, they constantly bid and treat each visitor type differently. Why is that? Because everyone converts differently. Some visitors convert more than others. Some traffic sources are better. So why don't publishers treat ads the same way? Because if you continually test and you treat each visitor differently and you show them different ad types, you can make more from your traffic, which ultimately will increase your revenue. And if you make sure your experience is great, you can decrease your bounce rate, which in turn will boost your SEO as well. If you create a terrible experience and you just shove ads everywhere and people don't like it and they bounce away, it's going to screw up your bounce rate, your page level experience, which in turn is going to decrease your rankings in the long run, because what's going to happen is people will Google for something, they'll click on your listing, and if they see your ad site as too spammy, they're just going to click the back button. And that tells Google, or sends them more so a signal saying, hey, this site shouldn't rank as high. So how do advertisers bid on these sites? Well, it's simple. They're using real-time bidding protocols. They're going through these platforms that connect the advertiser with the seller. And then boom, they're able to bid based on things like performance, such as conversion rate, clicks, CPMs, all of those things to maximize their revenue, even things like day parting. So when they do this, they're able to then control what sites their ads are being displayed on to maximize their revenue and who they're targeting. So let's go over how you can optimize your ads and some of the variables that you control and some of them that you can't. So when you're running A/B tests, the real simple approach is pretty much you're comparing one variation to other. You're comparing how an ad spot in one location may do better versus a different one, or how an ad size in one area is doing better or worse than the other. And you're tweaking these things to see which variation is going to cause you the most lift, and that's the one that you eventually end up rolling out and making permanent, because that impacts your revenue in the long run and makes you more money. But there's some issues. There's some things that you can control and you can't control. Some of the things you can control when you're testing is, let's say, should you have navigational options on the page or not? How should you push your ads around your content? What ad types you should use, the locations, the sizes, and color schemes, all these types of things, right? And sometimes with color schemes, there's not much in your control, but sometimes you can, depending on the network. And some variables that you can't control is you can't control what device someone's viewing your website in. For example, if they're coming to your website on a mobile device, why would you show them the same ads that you would when they're on a desktop device? And why would you show them in the same format? Because that could create a terrible experience, which decreases your rankings. And as you know, Google has mobile first indexing, so you may not rank as high on mobile for mobile devices when they're Googling. So that's important, right? You want to make sure that you're optimizing for these devices, because you can't control if they're going on an iPhone or an Android device or a desktop, but you ideally want to make your website compatible and keep all those things in mind. Same with browser types, or the type of day, time of day, or if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, or their connection. When I was at my wife's ranch, her parents' ranch, they barely even have cell reception. Forget 4G or 5G. Heck, I can't even get 3G. Same with geographical location. Sometimes you get traffic from other regions that aren't easy as monetizable. But there's a lot of little things like this that you can't control. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be doing optimizations or testing. The first thing you're going to want to test is an ad unit that you can control with one that you can't control. For example, you want to test ad size with traffic source, right? You can't control the traffic source, but you can control the ad size. And this will end up giving you data on what's working or what's not. And the reason you have these variables going, ones that you can control against ones that you can't, is because you always have to keep the ones that you can't control there, because that's consistent. So if you're optimizing only for things you can control, that won't work out, because in reality, the true future is you can't control all aspects. So you have to have both the variables there too. Then you want to use the A/B testing tool. If you want to do it yourself and do it manually, which takes forever, use Google Optimize. That's what we use when we're trying to do it manually. It's free. In your Google Analytics account, you can connect them, and just going through Google Optimize, you can literally test pretty much anything. And I'm going to break down how you do that through Google Optimize. So you go into Google Optimize, and what I want you to do is connect it with your Google Analytics account. Then click on your container name to get the experiments page. And once you're there, click on Create Experiment. Of course, enter the experiment name, and then enter in the page URL that you like to test. Maybe it's a specific article or your homepage. Then you want to click A/B test, and then click Create. And then after that, you want to add variants to your A/B tests. So a variant is multiple things that you're testing. And I'll give you an example of this. So you click Create a Variant, and the title of your variant, because I'm going to test ad size, is 300 by 250 ad size, and then click on Add. Then click anywhere in the variant window to launch the optimized visual editor. Then click on the web page element you wish to edit. Then use the editor panel to make changes. Then you click Save, and pretty much repeat these steps, and then you can create a variant for 468 by 60 or whatever it may be, and then you can continually test. And over time, you just let it run. And usually, if you have a lot of volume, you can see results within a week. But for many businesses, many publishers, it takes a month to 2 months to really see the results. Keep in mind, when you're running these tests, a lot of times they may look promising in the first week or first few days, but that's because a lot of your repeat visitors are seeing something that's different, so it does a little bit better. But then as time goes on, you'll start seeing things normalize more. So that's why you want to run your test longer than a few days or a week, so that way you can get true results and ideally statistical significance. Keep in mind that ads have the ability to dilute other ads. As I mentioned earlier, advertisers adjust their bids. Now, in a study by Ezoic, it was found that publishers that optimize for CPMs, their revenue often went down. So why is this? Well, Ads impact the performance of other ads, and ad bids get adjusted over 6 to 8 week periods. And that's why I mentioned when you're running your tests, you want to run them for a few weeks, more than a few weeks technically. You want to run them for usually a month to 2 months, because within that period, you're going to start seeing bids getting adjusted. Because remember, when companies are bidding for ad placements, yes, they may be in there on a daily basis, but they're really looking at performance over a monthly basis. And knowing how companies manage their ads allows you to better understand, hey, how many ads should you have, the locations, the sizes, and all these things to make sure you're not diluting other advertisers and the other ads on your site, which will then allow you to maximize your ad placement in the most competitive areas on your site for each visitor to maximize your income. At this point, you're probably a little confused or feeling overwhelmed, and that's normal. And why is this? There's just a lot of different elements, from sizes to traffic sources to what happens over time, what happens when during economic conditions like, let's say, a virus goes down globally and ad prices all start going down. And then everyone jumps in and start doing e-commerce, so ad prices start going up, but then people start changing their strategies. So how do you continue optimizers for all these different types of elements and do it fast enough? Because each minute you miss is money that you're leaving on the table and that you're losing. So what I end up using is this tool called Ezoic. I've been using it for a while now. It's a good software. It uses artificial intelligence and machine learning to optimize based on a lot of different data points. So think of it this way. When I'm optimizing my own website, I end up having visitors. Let's say I have 1 million visitors a month. That's my data points. But the thing is market conditions change all the time. What if I can optimize based off 1 billion different data points? And what if I can optimize based on other websites within my industry and other websites that are also publishers that are just running ads in all different types of industries? And that's what Ezoic does. They take literally billions of pieces of data, and I literally mean billions of pieces of data. And then from there, they automatically start optimizing. So Ezoic's main purpose is when you end up running your tests, that can take you months, if not a year, if you're doing everything manual. And keep in mind, it's not about just how fast you move, it's also about how many visitors you have. What they do is they take data points across all the different websites in your category and even in other categories. They look at all the different visitor types, what you have, what other people have. They get all these data points, and instead of it taking weeks or months, it does it literally in minutes because they already have this data on what's working and what's not working. So in essence, what they're doing is their ads are set up on a per visitor basis, meaning ads will be delivered depending on the person who's visiting your site and looking at them. And it takes into account user experience, which is very, very important. And I'm not a real big fan of AdSense, and I know you already know that, but the reason I'm not a fan of just randomly throwing up a lot of ads, because on mobile devices, it can create a terrible experience. And what I like about Ezoic is if they know that the experience is getting hurt, they just remove the ad from the experience and the page. So that way you're not hurting your long-term traffic, which is very, very important, because the last thing you want to do is make a quick buck and then your search traffic going down in the long run. And according to Small Business Trends, over 300 websites using Ezoic for 1 year have shown an average revenue increase in 93% in that time period. That's huge. Look, you can either do it all manually or you can just do it all automatically as well. And when you're optimizing your site for revenue, I recommend that you don't just use AdSense. You run multiple ad platforms. That's how you make the most money. And you can also do that through Ezoic as well, because it works with multiple ad platforms as well. And I really want you to remember that it is a game of numbers. See, marketing has changed into the person with the best data has the most ammunition and power to win. And when you're taking data points from billions of visitors and interactions with ads, you're going to do better than if you try to do it all manually. The big takeaway I have for you is when you're optimizing for ad revenue, don't just optimize for income, optimize for revenue and user experience. And you can do that in many ways. You can do that in automatic ways through Ezoic, or you can try to do it manually. And of course, time is money. If you want to go the long process of manually doing things, you can. I recommend that you read forums and look at other communities to see what's working for other people. Or you can just look at easier, quick solutions like me, like I just use Ezoic and let the AI pretty much do the work for me. So that's it. If you have any questions about making the most money from your website, leave a comment below with your website and I'll try to do my best to help you out. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, like my channel, tell other people about it. Thank you for watching.